This newly updated Hunter build makes you a flawless god. Now over the past couple of seasons we've had some insane builds, and although not much has changed with the current Void build for the Hunter from last season to this season, I did want to make an updated build for Season of the Seraph because we now have a few new artifact mods that can really make this build even more lethal. And not only that, within this build video I will be going over the best setup to run for both solo play and team play, so if you're struggling to get a flawless run for either solo or as a team, then this will really help you out. And I will also point out what other things you can use with the build to make it just as effective, so you have multiple options to choose from if you don't have certain things unlocked. So Guardians, if you enjoy this one or find it useful, a thumbs up on the video is much appreciated, and subscribing to the channel might just boost your luck chance in the game for the next 24 hours. So as always, rate, comment, subscribe and share, and now let's cause chaos. Now guys, just briefly before we get started, if you are new around here and you like these sort of build videos, then I do have a full playlist which you can find down below, which is where I put all my builds that I cover every week here on the channel. And all these builds are updated to the current season, so they will be relevant until Delightful releases at the end of February. But basically what you're going to get out of this build is infinite invisibility, an increase to DPS, damage resistance, and infinite ammo in endgame PvE. So this build makes life a lot easier because you will have all the things that you would need when playing difficult content. You got the damage resistance so that you can survive rough fights, you got the invisibility so that you can escape from a rough fight if things go bad, you have increased DPS from multiple sources so that you can melt things down quicker, and then you have the ability to generate heavy ammo from champions. The only thing that's really missing from this build is fast ad clearing, which you can pretty much achieve anyway with the right loadout. Now what makes this build even better is that you can use the same setup but with multiple things, which means you can either 1. Increase your damage even further, 2. Increase the resistance further, or 3. Have an extra invis ready for those times where 1 ain't gonna really be enough for you. Either way, with this build you're gonna be having so many different choices that it doesn't matter which one you use, all of them are gonna be extremely effective in endgame PvE. Now the most simple way to explain how to use this build with all setups is to first use your melee invis charge, which will make you invisible. You then come out of invis and dodge near an enemy to get the melee invis straight back, while also going invis. After dodging and getting a weapon kill, you'll spawn a void well, which when picking up will give you damage resist and a damage boost. Now bear in mind that you don't have to come out of invis straight away, you will have 10 seconds of invis after diving to the ground with your aspect ability, then more with your dodge, and again with the melee. And doing this just on its own with 100 mobility will almost guarantee you a 100% uptime with your invis, so regardless of how hard a fight is, you can always hide if you need that extra time to heal up, find ammo, grab a coffee, walk your dog, or whatever the reason is. I mean, maybe walking a dog is going a bit over the top, but you get the point. Now this is just a base setup because the exotic you choose next will depend on how the next part plays out. Here are your options. You have the Graviton Forfeit, Aeon Swift, the 6 Coyote, Omnioculus, Gyfalcons, Orpheus Rig, and Frostees. Now Graviton Forfeit, this will give you a faster melee charge for more uptime on your invis with a faster reload and recovery. This is great for getting back in the fight quicker with the guarantee that you can go back to safety at any time. Aeon Swift, you would use this in a team with the Sector of Insight Cult mod to get your team special and heavy ammo when they need it. Great for seasons where you don't have Lucent Finisher. The 6 Coyote, like Graviton, you'll have more invis charges, so you'll have the invis at a 100% uptime with its second dodge charge. Omnioculus, pretty much the same except you want to use this in a team, and you also get extra damage resist while being invisible. And most of the time you'll have these charges with a 100% uptime as well. Great for Grandmaster Nightfalls. Gyfalcons, this is great for both team play and solo play to get extra damage after coming out of invis. The damage buff is a 35%, but it doesn't stack with global buffs like an Ally's Well or Bubble, so I'd recommend using this when playing solo as your personal global buff. Orpheus Rig, this one will give you an extra shot with your Moebius Quiver, best used for the times where you want to deal a lot more damage but all at once in a short period of time. And then the last one we have is the Frostees. This is used like 6 Coyote and Graviton Forfeit for 100% uptime on invis, but the downside to this is that you need to keep running to actually get the energy back quicker. Now in terms of what is the best to use, there is no real answer, it does depend on what you want. For me there's only 2 exotics I'll ever really use, and those are the 6 Coyote and the Gyfalcons. Now notice how on each of my armor pieces they all have these same mods, so that I have Wealth Tenacity in all of them, and that they're all void armor. That's so that all I need to do is swap out the exotic instead of changing the whole build. I do prefer my 6 Coyote over the Gyfalcons just because I have a good setup, which gives me the triple 100 build, so that's what I like, but it really depends what you want. For this build, I'm basing it on Gyfalcons for the extra damage as a solo player, but you can use any exotic I've mentioned or anything else I haven't listed that you prefer. Just adjust the mods for each piece for that specific type. So if you got 3 exotic chests that you like, slot on the same mods on all of them. It just makes it easier to swap between exotics without having to change every mod in every armor piece. The dim link below will be set for this build shown anyway, so it is just as simple as copying the mods into the exotics that you choose to use. So just quickly before we go through the setup, with this build you will be getting all of these benefits. Infinite invisibility, meaning that you should always have one ready for when you need it, usually around a 0 to 5 second wait in between depending how you use it. A 35% damage buff, a 15% damage buff, a 25% damage buff, and a 15% weakening debuff, all of which stack together to a total of 123% damage increase when playing solo, or just over 100% damage when you're playing with a team. Honestly, the amount of DPS you can deal with this setup is just crazy. Now for the subclass, you're going to want to slot on the Void Tether Night Stalker with Shadow Shot Moebius Quiver. You can use the single shot tether if you want to. This will give you a 30% debuff to override any smaller debuffs, but personally I like the Moebius Quiver one because it deals a pretty good amount of damage, which would technically make up for the debuff damage anyway. With this though, put on a Gambler's Dodge so that you can dodge near enemies to get your melee straight back. Then I'm just using the Vortex Grenade. You can use anything you want since we're not really doing anything with the grenades anyway. Aspects we have are going to be the Trapper's Ambush, which means that you can activate Quickfall like the Shatter Dive to slam to the ground and go invisible. And you can also weaken enemies as well, which is pretty nice. Then we have Vanishing Step as the second aspect, so that dodging will make us invisible too. For the fragments, I'm using Echo of Leeching, Echo of Dilation, and Echo of Persistence. Now you only really need Echo of Persistence for the increased invis time, so I am only using the other 2 fragments for the stat bonuses. You can replace one with Echo of Starvation if you prefer to, which I do recommend if you have a good way of generating orbs. As for the main mods, I will start in the helmet and go down. So we have Powerful Friends, which is used for the plus 20 to mobility, as you do want 100 mobility and resilience as a minimum. Then you want your heavy weapon and with Finder mod alongside that. For the arms, I have the Reaping Wellmaker to spawn Void Wells when getting a kill after dodging, and then your champion mod that you need, and that's really all you need for the arms. For the chest, I have the Well of Tenacity for reduced damage when picking up the Void Wells, and then your damage resist mods that you need. Just remember, if you like me and you have multiple exotics that you like in the same slot, just make sure you slot on the exact same mods in each piece. Otherwise, for the legs, I have Radiant Light for the extra strength, and once you put Powerful Friends and Radiant Light on together, both stat bonuses will activate, as they're both arc mods. But I do also have the Scavenger mod here too, and then in the class, you have a few choices here. First, you can use either a Solo Operative and a Weakened Clear if playing solo, a Solo Op and Lucent Finisher, or a Weakened Clear and Lucent Finisher. Or, what I tend to do is Solo Operative and a Font of Might when playing solo, or a Lucent Finisher and Font of Might when in a team. You don't really need the Weakened Clear when playing solo, as you do have the melee and tether for the extra debuffs anyway. The worst case, if you can't get all the mods that you want, is to take out the stat mods like Radiant Light and have a lower stat and cooldown for extra DPS. But either way, the setup I have is pretty balanced for everything, but you do ideally want 100 mobility, 100 resilience, and ideally again 100 strength to make the most out of this build. The loadout choice is up to you guys, but I tend to go with whatever really works for the activity that you're playing. But if you are running a Font of Might, then you will want to run Void Weapons, or you won't be making the most out of this build. If you don't have any of these mods available, then it's not completely all bad. I'll just recommend getting your mobility and resilience to 100 as a bare minimum, and then you should be fine. Now overall, this build is by far one of the best hunter builds in the game in my opinion for PvE, especially for solo players who want to easily complete activities, or you have a really bad team where you need extra survivability by having the invis to escape from bad situations. Honestly, a really good build for new and returning players who are just getting back into the game and want quick and easy solo Legend and Master Lost sectors to get the new exotics for other builds. So guys, that there is your new Hunter Void Infinite Invisibility and DPS build in Destiny 2 Witch Queen Season of the Seraph. Next, as always, don't forget to check out the full playlist down below for more new, fun and updated builds like this for Season 19, as I do cover them every week here on the channel, and you might just find your new best build. But for now guys, have a good one, go play hide and seek with your new Invis Hunter, and I'll see you all very soon for the next build video. Peace out guys.